Some people might have a little rock and roll pneumonia.
You wanted the best, you got the best from my home studio on Long Island, New York. Welcome to Ian Scotto Rocks. I am your host, Ian Scotto. I am a diehard CKY fan. I often feel like I know everything there is to know about CKY. I'm a mega nerd for everything having to do with the history of CKY. But one thing I didn't know, and I'm pretty sure none of you knew, was that back in their heyday, CKY made a song that was a bit of a covert shot at Ashlee Simpson. And this has since been revealed on a Facebook post, just giving some insight and history by the great Deron Miller. Now, when I say I'm a CKY fan, I really am talking about CKY up until Carver City, because for those of you who don't know, Deron Miller was since kicked out of the band. The issue is it really CKY without Deron Miller? This is the guy who wrote all the songs, just about every song, sang on every song, played guitar on every song, and gave them their trademark sound. So yeah, when I hear the newer stuff, it's a very different band. It's very hard to call it CKY. But Deron Miller has still been very, very active with his own projects that, to me, personally sound more like CKY than current CKY. And a lot of fans feel the same. And I'm very glad that he is regularly on Facebook and giving some insight into the band and some history into the songwriting. And he did just that. And I was surprised to see that no one picked this up, because it was quite an interesting post. So we may be the first to report on it, but I'm glad that we are, because, like I said, I'm a mega nerd for CKY and all things Deron Miller. So let's get into this. On April 27th, so late last month, Deron wrote this post that I thought was fascinating. Someone asked me if the song I wrote, As the Tables Turn, meant anything. Why not explain it at this point? Here's the story. In 2004 or 2005, a woman named Ashlee Simpson embarked on a solo career as a singer. Her sister was Jessica Simpson. Jessica was marketed as a singer, actor, whatever, who became very famous. I'm talking 20 years ago at least. Well, her father decided to throw Ashlee onto the public, and in 2003 to 2005, I don't know, you can look it up, everyone was sucking Father Simpson's dick. Thank you for that description there, Deron. I mean everyone. It's only obvious that Ashlee Simpson, egged on by her father Simpson, was bought onto the pop scene, the pop diva music scene, and released an album of drivel, just total garbage, nepotism. They fought hard to make her relevant, and to her credit, she made some impact. I remember this. I was in high school at the time. The song Pieces of Me, it was a minor hit for sure. Albeit with a huge multi-million-dollar budget and no credibility except that she was Jessica's sister, who may or may not have worked a little harder for success. Long story short, Ashlee was to perform her new single on Saturday Night Live. This is, you'll find this interesting, he writes, SNL was a late-night skit show that was on every Saturday night as kind of a the work week is over kind of thing. Yeah, thank you for telling us what Saturday Night Live is, Deron. I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of Saturday Night Live, and you're talking about it in the past tense. It is still a show, still relevant, albeit maybe not as relevant as the great days of Will Ferrell and Tina Fey and all those greats. But I digress, as they say. Saturday Night Live had musical guests on every show. They still do. And on this particular night, Ashlee was scheduled to perform. Each musical guest was allowed to perform 2 songs, one near the beginning of the show and one near the end. And I'm sure you guys all remember this very notable incident, very famous, right? We'll probably show some video of it up on screen if we can. Ashlee got up and lip-synced her first track, and it went well, ? But when she got up to do the second, the CD she was lip-syncing to accidentally played a different song than the one she was supposed to do. Flustered, she stood there shocked And then eventually she did a bizarre scoot off of the stage. Yeah, she did this really weird dance, as you can see. Busted. Career over instantly. I mean instantly. When we did the song As the Tables Turn for our third album, I wrote it about her. 90% to make fun of her, but 10% to try and focus on the psychological collapse it must have had. A multi-million-dollar campaign destroyed in seconds. Anyway, I wasn't allowed to go into much detail in who the song was about because, funny enough, CKY and Ashlee Simpson had the same manager. What a fun story. That's really cool. I've always loved the song As the Tables Turn. And in that song, it actually is the line, "The butcher's hand is mine." And I learned from a YouTube channel here, because I don't just make YouTube content. I watch plenty of it. And we'll show on screen that this guy basically did 2 deep dives on CKY that were excellent. But I learned from their channel that The Butcher's Hand was going to possibly be the original title of the album, An Answer Can Be Found. And then they went with An Answer Can Be Found, which is also a line from the album in Suddenly Tragic. So let me know in the comments, what do you think would have been a cooler name for the album? The Butcher's Hand, which is a pretty badass title, or An Answer Can Be Found? Because I think both are great titles. One thing is, I think The Butcher's Hand sounds like it's brutal. And what became An Answer Can Be Found is actually, much like a lot of CKY, it's very bipolar album, because you have those really heavy songs like Sniped, but then you have Don't Hold Your Breath, which is a ballad. So, it's got some heavy, it's got some light. So I don't know if The Butcher's Hand would have been the right title, and An Answer Can Be Found, it's like more of a positive title. But both I think are great titles. But The Butcher's Hand, I think Deron should use that for another project. So for those of you who don't know, Deron has been very active since being booted from CKY. He now has a band called 96 Bitter Beings, and they've been absolutely killing it. They put out 2 albums. They put out an album called Camp Blood, and then Synergy Restored. And then even more recently, they put out an album called Return to Hellview, which is a reworking of songs from the Infiltrate, Destroy, Rebuild album, along with some songs from the An Answer Can Be Found album. I like it. I think it's cool to hear these new versions of the songs. Some people aren't as happy with it. People are always going to have a problem when you rework classics, but if you want to hear a new spin on those songs, I think it's very worth checking out. Deron's put out an acoustic album called Acoustified, and to me, he really is the heart and soul of CKY. The problem was just the fact that those guys had internal problems, and it does seem like, to be fair, even as a Deron Miller super fan, it does seem like he has a lot of conflict with the people he works with in general. The band 96 Bitter Beings, totally new lineup now because he couldn't get along with the guys in the original lineup, which even before calling the band 96 Bitter Beings, he did an album with them as Foreign Objects, and that was called Galactic Prey, also an amazing album. But yeah, he couldn't get along with those guys, apparently, right? And then he joined a death metal band that he has always been a diehard fan of, and that's Malevolent Creation. And I watched some of those performances of Deron with Malevolent Creation, and he sounded absolutely killer. I mean, he is a huge death metal fan. I'm not even a big death metal guy, and I'm not like a huge Malevolent Creation guy, but when I watched him do the live performances, I was like, this is sick. And I was hoping to hear an album by Malevolent Creation with Deron on vocals, but they couldn't get along with Deron either. So it seems like there's always been a lot of conflict with him. He tried to carry on the CKY name by himself, and then he was told not to, and I think given a cease and desist by the owners of the CKY name, which I believe are Jess Margera and his brother, Bam Margera, of course. And part of that is because regardless of who wrote the songs and all that stuff, Jess and Bam, especially the money Bam had from Jackass, were really able to put all the money, from what I know, towards getting CKY as popular as they eventually became. So they feel that the name is rightfully theirs, and apparently legally it is. So he tried to go on with the name Mecha CKY at one point, which was kind of funny, and then eventually 96 Bitter Beings. But yeah, if you haven't heard those albums, I would absolutely recommend them. Like, regardless of whatever personal issues that Deron has going on in his life. He has just, I think, only gotten better as a songwriter and a performer and a recording artist in general. I just love everything he does. He is one of my favorite songwriters. And so I'm glad that I get to hear this type of insight from him. And I thought this was a really cool story. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you want to support the show, it would really mean a lot. If you're feeling super generous, you could send us a super thanks when you click on the thanks button below, because it ain't free to make these videos, guys. We're just trying to break even here and then eventually become huge, hopefully. And you could check out the fabulous merch store. But one thing that doesn't cost you anything is just simply hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave your comments, and with that, you can click on this video right here if you want to check out more of the great content from Ian Scotto Rocks. I've been putting out deep dives, rock news, and commentary, and we are glad to have you on board as a new viewer. If this is your first video, we've got plenty in the works.